Okay, we're in. So Danny and I have decided to just jump right into this live screen share of me looking up the meaning of a teacher's name on a tarot card while Danny's making a coffee. So what a way to start a podcast.
Well, I think what was the context of this? What I said teacher just now, and why did I say teacher?
Yeah, so Danny and I were talking about how ever since I got this microphone like a few days ago, recording videos or podcasts has become 20 times more fun. And Danny's like, I wonder if it taps you into this teacher. And I was like, oh yeah, this is the card right next to it right here, teacher.
And so the teacher card has it's a face of a woman with a name of a woman. And Jack was saying how he never looked up the name of that woman or knew who she was. And so this is what this is in this moment.
A network error. I've never got that. Okay, here we go. Theosophy, esoteric spirituality, and the ascended master's teachings. Okay, let's see what else we got here. It is a guy, by the way. It doesn't look like it, but
Wow.
That's going to be me when I grow my hair out over the next 6 months. Jermaine. Yes. Would you like insights on how his teachings connect to your journey with consciousness and mastery? Let's see. See, the chat knows me so well. Conscious Creators, that's my new program. It's so funny.
Wow.
Intelligent energy management, a concept that resonates with your interest in energy protection. I just changed my bio to say energy.
Really?
Also interesting. Aligns with the Rasha quantum consciousness. And interesting. So I think this is a great segue, this card, into the topic of energy. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We'll go back to normal podcast land. And if we want to go back to ChatGPT, we'll go back. But I was laying in bed last night thinking about this podcast, and I had the strangest thought occur to me, or the strangest question. It was like, I wonder what Danny Miranda's first thought is every morning when he wakes up in the morning. So I'm curious if anything comes up.
Wow. I usually try to remember my dreams. That's usually the first thing I do these days, at least. I don't. It would be cool to program myself with a specific first thought and be intentional about that. I don't do that, but that would be super cool.
Do you notice, like, when you get out of bed in the morning, like, what is that energy you're tapping into?
I think sometimes I feel it over the past couple of weeks, I've noticed how connected my energy in the morning is to my dreams. So if I'll have a dream that's like a nightmare or something, a situation that I don't understand, I could be more down or upset, and then if I have a dream where like there's no dreams at all or just feels clear, and I meditate before. Sometimes meditating before brings up all the stuff. Sometimes meditating before makes it more clear. I don't have a good gauge on it thus far, but I've noticed that.
It's interesting that we start off talking about this because I've finally dove into reading Carl Jung's Man and His Symbols a little bit. And it's talking about how dreams are this way that our unconscious mind, subconscious mind communicates with us and gives us clues, gives us hints on our path. And I'm the same way. If I have a bad dream, and I usually have these recurring dreams that are symbolizing certain things in my life right now. The one I'll give an example of is I oftentimes have this recurring dream that I'm back in my junior year of high school and I get put into the position of playing quarterback. And we have a huge game, and now I'm the starting quarterback, but I forget my shoulder pads. I forget my cleats. I'm like, show up to the game late. I'm like, everybody's waiting. The whole crowd's waiting. And I'm just like running onto the field late, not ready. And so that is a theme that my subconscious is bringing up to me as a indicator to pay closer attention to, one, preparation, being prepared for things, but two, like, okay, where is this anxiety coming from? Where is this nervousness coming from? Another thing too is I noticed that depending on the night before, what I do before sleep will impact whether I have a good dream, a bad dream, and then that's impacting how I wake up. So do you notice that too?
The only thing that I've noticed is meditation, how it sometimes will bring up things that are in my subconscious, and sometimes it will make it really smooth, my dream. And so I don't really have a good correlation. I haven't studied it enough to know, but I have this book out, Being and Dreaming. It was recommended by Wayne Dyer, by Florinda Donner. I haven't read it, but he quotes it in some of his books, and so I'm curious to tap into it.
Yeah, I think it's something we'll go into more like as we progress on these journeys.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
yeah,
But talk to me about like when you wake up in the morning, if you had a bad dream, your energy's low,
yeah.
how do you get yourself back into alignment?
I mean, right now what I'm doing is I'm throwing that in chat. I'm trying to understand the dream through chat. I'm trying to understand what is going on, what happened, what loops do I need to close, what can I control in this moment. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm getting into alignment by trying to understand myself more. That seems to be a consistent theme throughout my life. And it's like, oh, you feel out of alignment. Okay, try to understand what's going on here, whether that's through writing, whether that's through a voice note, whether that's through meditation. Like, understand yourself so that you can center.
Mm. And through that self-understanding, be it the meditation, the journaling, the asking ChatGPT, do you like get to a point of clarity of like, oh, that's why that's happening? And then from there, it's like the insight gives you the energy to get back into alignment.
I think just the process of doing it brings me back into alignment. Like the process of, okay, there is more information out there that I can pull from and I can bring in. And that process by itself is enough for me to be like, okay, I'm on the path because I'm understanding myself.
Mm.
So it's not any particular insight that I may or may not get. Sometimes I just need to express something. Sometimes the dream makes it clear that I need to express something. Sometimes the dream makes it clear that I need to understand something, or there's an open loop. So I feel that when I'm able to just be in that process of understanding, I'm better able to trust myself and better able to get back on the path.
I love that. And I think from an outside perspective, what I observe in you is you're able to stay so in integrity
Mm.
throughout your entire days because your entire life is living in alignment with who you truly are and you understand yourself on such a deep level. And I want to talk about reason for being.
Yes.
I want to talk about this because I remember I did it at your retreat and it gave me so much insight on who I was in the world. And I want to know where you came across this exercise and when was it?
October 15th, 2023. Me
To
and
the
Talia.
dates.
Yes. I went on my first walk with Talia Victor, and she was not named Talia Victor at that point. She was named Talia Jacqueline. And I put her in my phone. Her contact is Talia Victor because I said, this woman is, based on everything she told me, she's going to marry the man she's dating right now. And this is so exciting. So I put her in my phone that day as Talia Victor. And the first 5 minutes of meeting her, I said, this is my sister. Like, this woman is my mom's daughter. I just know that for sure. And we walked and we spoke about the podcast, which was my main focus at the time, my own podcast, the Miranda podcast. And then towards the end of the walk, she says, I need to do a process with you. And I said, okay, I'm happy to. So when do you want to do it? She's like, now. Like, I want to do it with you at the end of the walk. So we pull in to this beautiful view of the Austin Lake at the Hyatt, which you probably are familiar with, Jack. And she takes me through the exercise, the prompts, and I'm scribbling down all these notes on this piece of paper. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, this makes so much sense. What I'm seeing on this paper helps explain my life in a way that I've never seen my life before. And so it was in that moment that it became so clear. And then I was like, holy shit, like this is so cool. And from there it became, I would do it at retreats. I did it with one-on-one coaching clients. I did it just to help other people understand themselves more. But that was the origin story.
Dude, I love how this is already connecting to like dreams and tarot cards. It's like these are just tools and exercises to make the unconscious conscious.
Yes.
And I'm curious what came through that day, the first time you did it, that you weren't yet aware of, or that was like kind of looming, but like you hadn't put your finger on it.
Yes, I'm so excited to answer this question, and I'm going to tell you after I get my coffee.
Nice. This is how we're podcasting in 2025. Authenticity. Maybe I'll edit this out. Who knows?
Okay. I'm so pumped.
I love it because it's just like you're just hanging out with us.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I felt when I listened to your and Nick's podcast. I was like, they're just chilling on the couch. I've been chilled on that couch so many times.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now let me lock in, really. Like, the audio might change a little bit. I'm gonna bring in these headphones, rocking and rolling. All right. So the question was, what about that reason for being exercise was impactful? Or
yeah, the first time, like what became clear that was not yet solidified in your mind?
So there were so many things. One was there's so so there were moments of the podcast that I was like, this is amazing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And there were other moments of the podcast where I was like, this was a good episode, but this didn't feel as good as another episode. And I was curious, why is that? And I never really knew or understood. And what I learned from doing the reason for being exercise is that the episodes that felt good was when I was in my reason for being. And my reason for being is to emotionally guide and help people understand themselves as a man. But that's really what I felt like I lacked as a child. And that's what I'm here to give. And I would say, people would ask me all the time, they would say, hey, how come 90% of your podcast episodes are men? And I'd say, because I'm a man and I just want to talk to men. But I didn't know why. But when I did this reason for being exercise, it became so clear to me that, oh, this is part of the thing that when I give, it feels better than anything else. And that's why 90% of the episodes are men, because my reason for being is to guide men in a deeper way, or learn about what it means to be a man, emotionally secure man, emotionally connected and spiritually connected man.
There's so many tangents I could go on there. Let's start with the podcast. It's actually funny timing. This is a little other tangent. I went out to dinner last night by myself, solo dinner, eating Thai food. I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things. And I just throw on a podcast with like two of my favorite thinkers at the time. And it feels like I'm just there at dinner listening. Yeah. And so I listened to first your podcast with Solbra from like a year ago.
Wow.
And then your podcast with Solbra from 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
That was very fascinating to listen to you like 5 years ago.
Yes.
Like there was like such a purity of you doing that podcast. You're like, I'm releasing this on Christmas. I'm so happy to share this with you guys. I was like, this is so sweet. Yeah. But yeah, that episode even felt like deeply resonant. And so with the podcasts, like, were some episodes that didn't feel completely in integrity with your reason for being? Was it more so like, I'm just doing this because I'm a podcaster and I want to hit this number or whatever it was?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I want to hit the number. I feel like I definitely got validation from the amount of episodes that I did. And so that was a way I separated myself. And that's the way I knew that I was, quote unquote, on the right path. I would say at some point I would say the conversations I had, I really wanted to talk to the people that I talked to, and I really wanted to understand, it felt authentic and it felt true. But also there are moments in doing something 470 times where you say to yourself, okay, like that wasn't as good. Why wasn't that as good? And I didn't understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
So
want to go deep. I'm even thinking about your astrology chart right now because you're a Scorpio North Node, right?
Scorpio North Node, yeah.
Do you know your South Node? I feel like we've probably talked
I
about this.
believe it's Aries.
Dude, that would make so much sense. At
Yeah.
least here's my perception of that. Aries is like very fiery, bold, action oriented,
Mm.
whereas Scorpio is very deep. And so you
Mm.
started off the podcast in more
Mm.
Aries energy, just
Mm.
like I want to hit this many episodes a week, just like making progress, 1 million downloads, whatever. And then
Yeah.
as you evolved towards your soul's evolution, you
Mm.
want to go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Mm. That resonates with me 100%. Let me just, yeah, Aries.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Hmm.
I love seeing these patterns play out. And that's how we know you're living in integrity. I put out a tweet yesterday, like, you can tell if somebody's living in integrity by how closely they are mirroring their astrological chart, because that's like your frequency beneath your name in social programming,
Wow.
more on like a cosmic level. And
Wow.
so, I mean, we could do a whole fucking reading on this podcast, but like you being Cancer and then moving towards depth, like it just adds, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I haven't thought a lot about the North Node, South Node, only a little bit through a book that Talia recommended. Um, but I have thought about I'm a Cancer Sun, um, Libra, Rising,
Mm-hmm.
and Aquarius Moon. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we have that in common, right? The Aquarius Moon.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, right? And so when you look at it, like this is something, 3 years ago, I would be like, what are they talking about? So you
Mm-hmm.
want to break down for people what that means and
Yeah, I'd
how our
love to,
charts
dude.
connect with each other?
This has to be in my reason for being because like it lights me up.
And
My energy feels 10 out of 10 on this.
and when we do this, I'm gonna also pull up our charts together as friends on the pattern app. So we can,
Incredible.
yeah.
Incredible. I will say, guys, for you listening to this, like I never expected this, but it has been by understanding my birth chart from all the different angles and positionings and planets that's helped bring me into closer alignment with my reason for being and what I think my soul's purpose is in this lifetime. But anyway, so we'll start with Danny's. So his sun sign is Cancer, and Cancer is usually very emotionally nurturing, right? Intimate, deep connections. And we can also think about, okay, what does Danny do for his career, for his living? He's a one-on-one coach. He's a freedom coach. He was my coach way back in the day, and it completely changed my life. And we could get into this, but I feel like I had a massive awakening in my freedom and consciousness from working with you. But anyways, that fits in with his Cancer sun sign. The Libra rising. So your rising sign is what you present to the world or your personality, your outward appearance. And so Libra is usually about beauty, diplomacy, harmony, justice, fairness. And so I think that's something I notice in you is like in social situations,
Mm.
you are like a barometer of the truth.
Mm.
Like if something is out of integrity and nobody else is going to say it, you're going to say it. And that's
Wow.
your Libra. And for anybody out there that wants to look at their chart, go to astrolink.com and I'll link it below and you can get your entire birth chart. And then you can go into ChatGPT and ask it about your different positionings. That's how I've learned all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then the last piece is your moon is Aquarius, and so is mine, which is cool that we share this. And the moon is like the subconscious, the underworld, the emotional center. And so I always interpret the Aquarius moon to mean you can understand like groups of people emotionally.
Mm.
And so I think like when we're in a room together, we can read the entire room very easily.
Mm. It's so cool to see the difference of your perception versus mine with these things, and they're very closely related.
Yeah.
Um, how I understand Aquarius moon is somebody who's very observant.
Okay.
That's how I would describe, which is very similar to how you described it. But they're looking at human dynamics, human behavior. When people do certain things, what does it mean? And it's typical for a writer or somebody who's looking at life in a particular way because they're observant. That's the Aquarius moon. That's how I think about the Aquarius moon and myself. And observing large groups of people is definitely part of that. For the Libra, I view it as social and connected. And that's how people typically perceive me, as social. And oh, he's a social guy, he's very connected. And it's like, in actuality, that's true. And there's a deeper piece of the Aquarius moon that's very observant, that wants to spend time alone, that's more isolated. So, and the Cancer is like the one who loves and just has the heart that just is open and wants to love others.
I love it. I'd love to even look at your other positionings. Like, do you have your chart?
Yeah.
Could we put it on the screen somehow?
For sure. Let's see. Can I share my screen?
You should be able to.
Let's see. This is a cool podcast. I've never done a podcast like this.
It's funny how it comes together, because last night I was recording a module for a course around frequency and vibration, and I wanted to show the maps of consciousness. I was like, how can I share my screen and record? So I was like, oh, I'll just record it on Google Meet, and then the file will download, and then I can just upload it. And then now we're doing the same thing 10 hours later.
Of course. So my
this could be a course. This could be an astrology course.
My birthday is, I'm just putting out my astrology. My birthday is July 13th, 1995. I was born at 1:12 p.m. in New York. What's the question? What's my birth positioning?
Yeah, say like, tell me all my birth positionings.
Tell me all my birth.
And sometimes, guys, you got to be careful with just going through ChatGPT. You want to verify it through like another site, because sometimes it can be off. So we'll see if it's right. Cancer. See, okay, your moon says Sagittarius here.
That's great. This is great that it got it wrong.
Okay. And then a rising is Scorpio. I wonder, Danny, if you could go to astrolink.com. I think that'll be like 100% more accurate.
Cool. And we could see the difference as well.
Yeah. And you've had real readings and stuff, so you know the real positionings, right?
Yeah. And I've the pattern app as well. So what do you do on astrolink.com?
You just put in your name, date, and birthday and time, and then we can share the screen.
And it's astro-link or
no, it should be one word.
One word. Okay. You got to create an account?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Okay. New York.
I'm thinking while you do this, I could share my screen and show some people my chart. And
do
I
it.
could walk them through.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
The different aspects. Boom. Okay. So when you go on astrolink.com and then you get your thing, this is a pretty cool site. You can see it shows all my different positionings here. So Danny, you find some of this interesting.
I want to look at this.
I think the first time I ever got interested in astrology was from you, Danny. You gave me a book called
the one I mentioned earlier with Talia.
That's what but I can't think of what it's called for some reason.
You want me to get it out?
If you want to, but it doesn't matter. It's okay.
Okay.
But in this book, I realized my North Node was Cancer. And then Danny told me like, that's where you evolve towards. And then it was interesting because I was going towards working with Danny as my coach.
That's right.
And that's when I was like, whoa, there's something here. And even my cousin is a senior in college. He's 21. He's like an accountant. So like quite rational minded and stuff. He came to visit me in Austin when I had this book, and there were like probably 100 books scattered around my living room. And he just decided to pick that one up out of any of them. And he's like, holy shit, this is crazy. He was like, this describes me so accurately. So, you know, I come across people in college. It's interesting. Sometimes I'll throw like a little comment about astrology into a conversation, and then people will get like super defensive. They're like, oh, I don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe in that. And
that's
like,
wild.
Yeah, it's a very Catholic school where I'm at. So they're like, they look at that as like, this is evil. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think what's really helpful is that if you want to understand where you're limiting yourself, just figure out what you're judging,
Yeah,
right?
that's a banger. That's
I
gotta
should,
go on Twitter.
I should tweet that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, now you got me introspecting. What am I judging?
If you want to know where you're limiting yourself, figure out what you're judging.
In some ways, I can go reversed with myself, and like sometimes there is a subconscious, a quick judgment of them of like, how are you not interested in this stuff?
Mm, mm,
And so I could potentially be limiting myself in like
mm,
maybe diving into the depths of Christianity and really understanding it.
mm. And also, you're limiting yourself in your actual ability to serve them in any way because you're judging the fact that they're judging you.
Yeah. 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 You can see it clearly. Yeah. That's great. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go back into this chart a little bit, then we'll pull up yours. So,
Cool.
anyways, my North Node Cancer, that means North Node, I am karmically evolving in this lifetime towards more emotional nurturing and depth,
Mhm.
right? It's why and my South Node is Capricorn. So, Jack Sweeney is Capricorn, very
Wow.
orderly, logical, like top down. And so I can even see it in myself. I'm evolving away from monk mode, productivity, grinding towards
Mm.
more intuition and feeling.
Right, because that's how you started this.
Exactly.
It was monk mode, grinding. That's Capricorn energy
Yes.
for those unfamiliar.
Yes. And then, so I actually have 3 Cancer positionings, which I haven't even taken that much note of until
Mm.
right now. It's
Mm.
interesting. So my Jupiter is the planet of maturity
I thought it's
and
money.
luck and money and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and mine's exalted. So that means it's very powerful. And what I've been told with this is like it's probably going to be through like really deep partnerships, whether it be business or romantic, that
Mm.
a lot of abundance is going to come at some point.
Yeah.
Um, so that's interesting. And then my Venus is also Cancer, and Venus is the planet of love and romance. And so mine is deep emotionally nurturing. So if I even look at this, I think if I look at like what is in alignment and what's not, this is still yet to come online for me, the Venus in Cancer.
When that says Venus in Cancer, does that mean that you are likely to meet someone who is a Cancer, or you'd be most attracted to somebody in relationship who is a Cancer, or when you are in your Cancer energy, you are most likely to bring someone in?
Mm. Yeah, I don't think it is as much to do with like that person is going to be a Cancer, but it's more of the qualities of Cancer are what my soul most deeply wants and resonates with. So
Mm.
it's the qualities of depth and emotional nurturing that my soul most uniquely wants in terms of a romantic, loving relationship.
And money.
And money. Well, is Jupiter money? Let's see.
I view Jupiter as money, but that's my what is
Let's see.
Jupiter?
Expansion,
Expansion.
wisdom, abundance, higher consciousness.
Hmm.
And this is why you have your Saturn return at 28,
Hmm.
28, 29. So I'm curious what your Saturn is, Danny, because you're kind of in the midst of that Saturn return now.
Right. I think it's
Bef-
Cancer.
Let's pull yours up, but I'm just
No.
going to buzz
Wow.
through the rest of these really quick and
Yes.
explain them to people.
Amazing.
So Mercury, right? Okay, we'll start here. Sun is like your most true essence, essentially. It's your most dominant essence. Mine's Leo. So I'm not going to go into each one. You can look into them. Rising is the personality, outward appearance. Mood is the subconscious, emotional. Mercury is communication, how you communicate with others in the world. Venus is romance, relationships. Mars is more like goal pursuits and drive, I perceive it as. Jupiter is like we just looked at, expansion, wisdom, abundance. Or sorry, yeah, that's Jupiter. And then Saturn is, let's see. I mix these up sometimes. Saturn and Jupiter. Discipline, structure, and mastery.
Mm.
Long-term growth. So
Rules.
mine's Gemini. Okay, that's interesting. It
And
feels
what
to
does
me,
Gemini represent? What is Gemini?
yeah. Gemini is like intellect communication.
Hmm.
I perceive it as, well, we can look. Saturn in Gemini.
Meaning.
And I have a theory why I'm even drawn to podcasting because of this. Master of mind and communication. Your greatest lessons, challenges, and eventual mastery revolve around communication, knowledge, adaptability, and mental discipline. So mastering communication and intellect, deep thinking. So this aligns with the podcast. And it does feel to me like I'm doing all this writing and speaking at a younger age, at like 23 and starting at 20, to prepare me for 28, 29 when the Saturn return happens. And this is where I'm supposed to be really living up to my potential. So it feels like it's like the training grounds right now. And then the last one here is the midheaven, which is your public persona, your career, your legacy, and how the world perceives it. This has been really interesting for me to understand why mine's in Libra and what does that actually mean. It's helped me go deeper into like wanting to create beautiful aesthetics, whether it be like for content or my website or anything like that, because it's aligned with something deeper within me. So that's a little bit of mine. Now I would love to see yours, sir.
Very cool. And it makes sense. Like you'll see a lot of connections in my chart and Jack's chart. And it really does make sense. Personally, here we go. All right. So,
wow. Interesting.
I would love to know what stands out to you from this.
Just the colors are the first thing that stood out. Like very watery, very watery and earthy.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like very fiery and airy.
Yep.
It's interesting. You have so much Cancer. Communication is Cancer, Mercury. That's interesting. You also have Venus in Cancer. That's interesting. Midheaven, how the world perceives you.
Yep.
Saturn is Pisces. Whoa.
Yep.
That's interesting. Okay. So you're 29 right now, or 28?
Yeah.
29.
Yeah.
So Danny's
about to turn 30.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
When is your birthday? July?
July 13th.
13th. Okay. That's incredible, entering a new decade. But so Danny's in the midst of his Saturn return right now.
So I asked Chat, when is my Saturn return, and when is it going to be most painful in my Saturn return? And it goes May 2024, August 2024, and January 2025. So, oh, that's interesting. Because 2 out of those 3 months I had breakups.
Wow. Wow. Now, did you ask the chat, like, what do you think it means for me with my positioning in Pisces?
No, I did not. But I think Pisces is deeply feeling. You could probably go into this. Saturn in astrology.
I think of Pisces as like visionary.
Interesting. I would not think of what does Saturn in Pisces mean?
Yes, I'll give you my interpretation, but I want to see what chat says. I want to see if I'm on the right path, especially with your current projects. I think you're innovating a new paradigm of how people interact with the world. And you're doing it through your book, Divine Moments, and you're doing it through Reason for Being. And you're revolutionizing how people interact with the world.
I appreciate those kind words. I'm curious what you think of what this says. Can we share this tab? Spiritual mastery through discipline, emotional boundaries and responsibilities, creativity with structure, healing karmic patterns, mastering fear and surrender, navigating disillusionment, service and compassion with limits.
Yeah, the if you scroll up, the like discipline aspect too, that connects with your integrity sessions as well. And these are things that have just developed in the past few months.
Yes.
In the midst of this Saturn return. So
Yes.
I love the integrity sessions. Could you touch on what's an integrity session? And then maybe
Yeah.
we'll keep the chart up if we want to like use it as a reference point.
I love this. This is the coolest podcast ever. Um, integrity sessions are something that my buddy Alex Hardy and I started on January 7th. So actually 2 months ago, almost exactly. Um, or we had the idea to start 2 months ago. Basically, what happened was my friend Alex, he would text me voice notes of places he was out of integrity. And he just wanted to clear the record and clear everything and just be like, this is what's happening. This is what has happened. And I just want to own this to you. And I was like, wow, this is incredible that this guy is doing this. What an incredible, like, I just felt so inspired by hearing how much he was willing to step into his own integrity. And then he said, how cool would it be if this was a thing? Like my friends, Elle and Cam, they do something called Great Morning, where it helps people with gratitude and affirmations. And I think in his head, he was thinking, oh, this could be a big thing where people do this. And I was like, okay, but I would like to just start with me and you to begin with. I don't want to do it for all these people. I really just want to I trust you with these deep things in my head. And I could see there were moments that I was being out of integrity. And so I wanted to talk to him about it. And so he was like, yeah, let's do it. And we started in the next week. And it has changed my life, man. It is so powerful. And, I appreciate how much you view me as someone in integrity. And I really try to be in every moment. And also, I fuck up all the time. And so I'm grateful to have this as a way to clear everything, as a way to get back to center. So,
Yeah. Well, you've inspired me and Ben Brummel to do our own integrity sessions.
wow.
So Ben actually texted me. He's like, dude, you want to like do a call every day to do the integrity session? And I was like, I don't have time for this. Like, there's too much going on. But what we've done is we've started to send voice notes back and forth for the past week. So
Wow.
anybody out there that you have a friend that is interested in personal development in any kind, hop on an integrity session with them, be it like Danny's doing with Alex every day. It's a call, or like Ben and I are doing is every day we're going to send a voice note and talk about a few things. And I want to know what's opened up for you as a result of doing these integrity sessions. But for me, in like a week of doing the integrity sessions, my health is better than ever.
Wow.
I'm sleeping better than ever. Because those were areas I wanted to clean up, like diet and sleep. And just coincidentally, the universe has aligned in a way that has made it obvious for me to stop vaping.
Wow.
And that came through. I remember like sending a voice note to Ben. I was like, dude, I know this is not an integrity, but like, I don't want to look at it yet.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
what happens the next
Yes.
day is my sister and my dad are like, we're going to give up sweets for 40 days for Lent. And I'm sitting there like, fuck, should I fucking join this? And I was like, I had like the least likely people to inspire me to like get to a disciplined behavior come to me and they're like, we're going to do this discipline challenge. I'm like, all right, I have to do it. And so now it's been 4 days without, and I feel so good, dude.
Wow.
And I think the seed of it was the integrity session.
Yeah, that's incredible. And sometimes just noting it and having someone else be able to witness you in that is so powerful. And for me and Alex, we don't do it every day. We do it maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And it's like going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. And just the fact that you brought it up and it was an awareness for you, then all of a sudden life gives you an opportunity to say, okay, you wanna go into this? Try, you see what happens. And it's very cool. It's so inspiring to hear that you and Ben have started to do it. And yeah, just an amazing thing.
What's opened up or changed for you from the sessions?
uh, I would a lot. I would say the biggest thing that is really personal is I'm not in a relationship anymore that I was in when they started. And it's just one of those subtle things that I didn't really want to admit to myself, and was very easy for me to kind of pretend in some way that it wasn't, that it was right. And it wasn't until I had the space with Alex to really um, understand what was going on and why and how it was impacting me. I think that's the biggest thing that's opened up.
Mm. And from looking at that and that relationship ending, like what have you noticed has opened up in your life with that space that's been created, and how have you changed?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Within a week or two, um, I'm going on a plane to Argentina, and I'm doing a corporate workshop of this ending this relationship. One is like a day after, or in the next week, I have one of the deepest conversations with my dad that I've ever had in my life, which was amazing. Um, Another is that I go on a plane to Argentina, and I get all these opportunities that come my way, career wise, that just were so amazing and out of nowhere. And I just could feel, just waking up, it wasn't something that I had to fight myself with in terms of the relationship. And that was such a beautiful feeling of just being centered and aligned, um, and not having a voice in the back of my head that would come up of this isn't right and trying to push it down.
Mm. You know, I just wrote down like 5 minutes ago because I was looking at your chart and I was like, I'm going to tell you this after in case it doesn't come up, but it already came up. It's that your Jupiter is in Sagittarius.
I was waiting for you to comment on that, actually, and I was surprised you didn't comment on that.
Well, look at this. Look at how it all comes back.
Uh-huh. And
So,
what does that mean to you? I'll tell you what
yeah,
it means to me.
what I wrote down is like your good fortune, your luck, your abundance is going to come from you getting into that Sagittarius energy and traveling, being open to new experiences, being spontaneous, going on adventures. And you
Mm,
just talk about going to Argentina and all this crazy new things come out of nowhere and like
yeah.
transform your life. That is the Jupiter and Sagittarius energy. Like the
Mm,
picture behind it is the archer with a bow and arrow.
I see that.
I think of it as like you're traveling around and you're like a hunter or an archer who just like boom shoots a bullseye basically on the run.
Mm,
And I think he's on top of a horse there too. Or it is even a centaur. I don't know.
that's fascinating. Um, it's interesting because I've always viewed Jupiter and Sagittarius to mean I mm, good fortune, abundance comes to me when I'm following my inner voice. And I love to hear your perception on it because it's not the same as mine, but
Uh-huh.
it's so similar.
Well, it's your inner voice that probably somehow led you to Argentina, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, this is interesting. Famous people with Jupiter and Sagittarius: Oprah Winfrey, Albert Einstein, and Winston Churchill. I'm going to share
Wow.
this tab.
Look at
What
that.
does Jupiter and Sagittarius mean? Expansive growth through learning and exploration, optimism and faith in life, luck and opportunities come through exploration, like you said, big picture thinking and restlessness. There's a tendency to think on a grand scale, sometimes overlooking details, a constant hunger for new experiences, natural teacher, guide, or preacher. Jupiter and Sagittarius often feel called to share their wisdom, whether it's a teacher, philosopher, spiritual leader. They have a gift for storytelling, strong moral compass, and justice seeking. There's a deep sense of ethics and passion for truth. May struggle, excess and indulgence, may struggle with moderation, whether in spending, eating, or seeking pleasure. Commitment issues because of love for freedom. Staying in one place or relationship for too long can feel restrictive. God bless. How do they know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with that, it's like you perceive it as more of the internal voice, and I see it as more of the external manifestation.
Interesting. And what does that mean? What does that mean to you?
It's probably all written in our charts, right? You're Cancer, you're so deep within. Scorpio, North Node. I think I think my Leo Sun and Aquarius Moon combined to give me more, and Sagittarius Rising combined to give me more like big picture, visionary, outside thinking.
Mm,
Like I think a lot about what is out there, what's out there. Whereas I think your primary lens for the world is internal.
mm.
Does it resonate?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think about the world through the lens of the internal.
Yeah. And I think about it, I'm shifting more to the internal, but it's always primary external for me.
Hmm. Makes sense.
Maybe this is tied to your reason for being, but what is your North Star?
In life,
Yeah. What
unrelated to astrology or
it could be related, but just in general, like right now, if you had to say this is my
yeah,
North Star, what would you say?
I would say connecting people to themselves. Um, like how can I live a life that, whether it's on social media, whether it's on talking to people one-on-one, how can I get to the truth of who you are and talk to you about who you are and connect you to actually the truth of what you know, the truth that you're repressing or you're pushing down because you say, I can't live like this, or I'm not allowed, or if I believe this about me, then that means that I will be unlovable, or whatever it is that I want to connect people to themselves to get to the truth, because to me, that's where all the progress and growth comes from in life. And so when I'm hosting meditations, when I'm doing reason for being, when I'm um, on the podcast, when I'm in an elevator, how can I connect you to yourself?
Mm. Do you find that that causes a lot of resistance in people because it's like quite scary?
To a lot of people, sure, right? But to the people that I talk to, usually they come to me and they're ready to go. I mean, I met someone for the first time yesterday, and um, within 10 minutes, we're talking about the deepest parts of his relationship and how that is going and where the patterns are coming from. And I'm like, I fucking love this. Like, I could do this all day. I do this all day,
Mm-hmm.
So I think when someone comes to me, it's not like the resistance is happening because they've come to me. They're in my presence. They're in my field. They know this is what they're here for. And I don't try to force it on anyone as well. It's just a natural flow that happens. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
In the beginning for you, when you started to uncover where you maybe weren't living in integrity, living in falsehood, and trying to uncover the truth of who you are and what your reason for being was and
Mm.
what you wanted to do in this life, like going back to the origin of that, was there initial resistance to it? Or like when you discovered it, were you like excited?
For a reason for being in particular?
I guess more like broadly the inner work, but also reason for being.
Yeah. So, inner work for me, I say the start point for that is September 2019. Now, obviously, I was interested in personal development in college and in um, growing up, but I created a time management blog when I was 13 on how to help people live better lives. But there was part of me that wanted to just be normal. I just want to be normal because, bro, I don't want to deal with the repercussions of what it means to live a not normal life. I want to party. I want to go to college like a normal kid. And then there's part of me that's like, this is not your calling. This is not what you're supposed to do. And so there was this conflict within me of this lack of acceptance for not being normal. In 2019, I started to meditate, and I started to go in and I started to experience divine moments, and I started to experience synchronicity to a level that I couldn't have previously ever described or understood. And I just became more and more interested in it. I went deeper and deeper on myself in it. And so there was resistance And then, 2021, I stopped meditating. So what does that mean to me? To me, that means, oh, there was so much resistance that it was going too fast, too strong spiritually, and you got to stop. And so I stopped meditating in 2021 and restarted in 2022, and then moved to Austin in 2022 when it just goes to a whole nother level. 2023, I'd been doing work on myself for 4 years, 3 or 4 years at that point. And so when I'm writing these exercises and these prompts, I'm saying to myself, this makes so much sense. This is what I was made for. This is so perfect. This is right. So yeah, that's been my journey with inner work. And there has been resistance along the way. And there's resistance right now, in certain things. And so it's just a never ending opening that I'm committed to, because I know that every time I go beyond and I open in a place that I was previously closed down, life happens for me in a way that I can't understand in this moment.
I could feel the passion and how it invigorates your entire being.
It's what I'm here for, bro. Like, it really is. It's what I'm here for. I'm here to help people self-actualize. I'm here to help people grow. I'm here to help people show the truth of who they are to themselves. I believe in that more than anything, and I believe in the power of that. And I know how beneficial and how much, dude, I mean, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, because this is going to go in my book, Divine Moments, I believe. I mean, I'm writing about it. 2 days ago, a random person sends me a message on Instagram and says, hey, do you want to get dinner tonight? And I've listened to your podcast before, and me and my brothers want to take you to dinner. So I tuned in that moment to what is the truth of my being. I've never met this person. I don't know this person. What is my body saying in this moment? Okay. It said, yes, go. Okay. So I say, yes, I'm down. I'll go. Then the next message is amazing. It's at this steakhouse. The steakhouse that he mentions is my favorite steakhouse in Austin. It's like, what are the odds of this? That I'm getting a free meal at my favorite steakhouse by the people that I don't know? Amazing. It's like incredible. That in and of itself, divine moment. I show up to the restaurant and I speak to these guys and sit down, and really sweet guys. And I'm recording a podcast with them tonight. I'm super excited for. As we're sitting for a few minutes, a waiter comes up to me and says, hey man, we spoke a year ago about my dreams. And just to let you know, like, that conversation made such a big impact on me that I wanted to show you this. And it's a note card that he took notes from our conversation that we had a year ago that he carries around with him every time that he serves tables. And on the note card, it talks about awareness and compassion for yourself, and creating a new reality for yourself, and expressing yourself. And I'm saying to myself, like, tears start like welling up in me of the impact that this one conversation had. And I get to my apartment after the dinner, and I just start bawling of, oh my God, every moment of me choosing what was true to me led to that conversation. There's no world in which I could have given or talked to that man and had that conversation with him if I was living in someone else's story. And the fact that I'm living in my own story allowed this moment to happen. And so, yeah, I have so much belief in knowing in this concept of tuning into the truth of what you want and living it. Because I know that a moment like that could never have happened if I was gambling in college.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Incredible. Bro, I'm curious, do you think it would be fun for you, because you're the guest here, to to help me break down my reason for being live?
Would love that.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I want you to explain to the people listening what is reason for being.
Yeah.
And I'll come back and then we can drop into it.
Well, I want to go to the bathroom too, and we'll
Perfect timing. I was gonna say maybe I'm gonna edit this out, but we just walked in at the same time. I'm like, wait, we might have to just keep this in. I'll I'll cut back to the point where we're just both walking in at the
That
same
was wild.
I literally stopped at the fridge, drank some orange juice, some coconut water. I was like, let's go. I was like, I thought you'd be sitting here already.
Nope. Perfect timing. Incredible.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So what do you want me to do?
I would love to break down my reason for being.
Let's do it. You've done the exercise before, of course.
Yes. However, I feel I was such a different person
Wow.
last April when I did it. And I don't even remember consciously exactly what I said. I remember some key points, but I don't remember like one sentence.
Wow. Okay. Would you like to do the first 3 prompts of this exercise again?
How long does that take?
Let's call it 15, 20 minutes.
I feel like it's a bit long.
Okay. That's fine.
What are those 3 prompts around?
Those 3 prompts around how you grew up, and
Okay.
it's a specific sequence we're taking people through.
Okay.
You know, it's a meditation. So me and Talia are doing this program, Reason for Being, where it's we've done this exercise to corporations, to people at our retreats, my retreats, and this is the first time we're ever offering it virtually. And there's the things that we're doing are very specific in the order that we're doing it. So I could ask you, like, what's your reason for being right now? And you would get an answer, but it would be different if you went through a specific visualization and meditation and you were guided in this way and brought into this state in this moment. So it's really specific to each moment. And what's cool is that we added to it to make it more complete and help people understand themselves even more, which we've done it in the past with these 5 prompts, and now it's 8 prompts, and it's a deeper process. And there's multiple meditations and visualizations, and we're doing that on March 29th at noon Eastern. So yeah, that's something that maybe you could put in the description if someone's interested. But it's such a beautiful thing for someone to be able to look at their past and be like, this is who I am. This is my patterns that I do today. This is when I'm in my best. This is when I'm in my worst. So yeah.
Something came through, of course, earlier when you were talking about your reason for being and how it was connected to what you lacked in childhood in some way.
Yes.
And so for me, something I've been working through over my life is overcoming the fear of performance anxiety. So that came through earlier in the conversation about the dream, right? Like being not prepared for the game. And I believe that is actually deeply connected to my reason for being is how can I help people unlock their most full, authentic expression and not need to prove themselves to anybody?
Yeah.
And bonus, how do you get paid for it on the back end?
Yeah.
I think there's that's definitely tied into it.
That resonates so deeply because when you recorded your series of videos on your life and you just filmed yourself in random locations, sometimes in Hawaii, sometimes in your bedroom, so like for me, that was so cool to witness. You just own your story in such a complete way. And the fact that you are in some sense performing, showing just who you are, you're capturing yourself, and in another sense you're just being yourself. I mean, I definitely think that's related to what you're here to do, because I feel so inspired by you when you're doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's such a paradox because the most inspiring creations are not done for the viewer's sake,
Yeah.
right? They're done for the intrinsic reason of the creator.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I look in any part of my life when I'm doing something authentically for my own sake, intrinsically,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be recording all those videos, those were for me, really. Those were for me to document. And of course, then those touch other people. Or, like, a more recent example is going to a rave and dancing
Yeah.
and choosing to be in that authentic frequency because I want to. Then other people around you, they start noticing, they come up to you and they start dancing with you.
Yeah.
It's like you bring up their level of consciousness or frequency by residing in your own.
Dude, you know what just hit me so strongly was how we are, me and you specifically. I wonder how much this applies to people in general. We have resided in so many different worlds. And so there's one version. You're nodding. You're like,
Yeah,
yep.
I'm like thinking, well, yeah, like more than this dimension too. Like that's where my mind is
Wow,
going.
of course it was. I was more grounded in the practical
I
of
know,
like,
I know.
there's football player Jack, there's writer Jack, there is, were you in a fraternity?
No, but the
No,
football team is essentially a
gotcha.
fraternity.
There's high school Jack, there's uh podcaster Jack, like there's so many different versions of you. And what that brings up for me is that the person who is a writer has a community of friends who are writers, and then writers judge other people and say, okay, we are not interested in astrology. And then you have people on the football team who are like, we don't play soccer, or we don't go to raves, or we don't sing, right? And so it's so cool because I think part of both of our paths is owning our full self and knowing that the judgment will come from different parts, and that's part of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
That's a huge unlock for me in that moment just now.
yeah, I think this is a fun thread to go down because there's a quote from the Tao Te Ching that's coming up, of course, and it's like the master, because he doesn't know who he is, other people see themselves in him.
Mm.
And there's another idea from Paul Graham, who's like more of a venture capitalist entrepreneur. So that's why I love residing in both the spiritual and material worlds. But he has a great article called Keep Your Identity Small. I can
Mm.
link that below too. And it just speaks to the importance of not putting labels or boxes on ourselves because it limits our perception of reality. Like if you were just, I am podcaster Danny, that's who I am, you would never have opened up to writing the book or doing one-on-one coaching or whatever else you're going to do in your life because had a small enough self-image. You didn't define yourself by a label. And I think the key at a deeper level is, how do you not equate your self-worth with what you do externally?
Yeah.
Because that's when people, and I've been in this myself, it's like the stronger I am attached to the label of I'm a football player and the more I define my self-worth by it, the less I'm going to open myself to the other possibilities of life.
Yes. Yes. Very well said. And I think the key for me is, okay, can I be a mirror for this person in this moment? Can I ask, what can I learn from this situation? Can I be open to uh the Christians who reject astrology? Can I be open to the astrologists who reject AI? Can I be open to the entrepreneur who rejects meditation? Can I be open to the meditator who rejects entrepreneurship? Can I be open to like,
That's our Aquarius moon. I just clicked. That's why we see it that way.
yeah, yeah. So, man, and so what I find so fascinating is playing in all those worlds, playing in every single world, being yourself, because really, at the end of the day, you're in your own world no matter what. And you could think of yourself as I'm a lawyer and I love law and all I do is surround myself with lawyers. And at the end of the day, you're just in your own world because you're looking at things in through your lens. And yeah, I just want people to remain open, more open to the possibilities that exist.
Mm, I love it. There's a dog barking out here, and I don't know what it means.
Put it in chat.
Put it in the chat. What does it mean? Were you always this open, like growing up as a kid, or were there specific moments that really opened your mind and your consciousness?
Yeah, I think I wasn't. People are so surprised here that I wasn't always a curious person, right? I was very much, I was really trying to get by being a normal person. I was really trying to be, can I go to high school? Can I get good grades in the ACTs? Get, can I go to college? But it just started to break down for me. And it really broke down for me in San Diego when I got everything I wanted materially and realized that it wasn't what I was actually seeking. And so I started to meditate. When I started to meditate, I became much more curious about the world around me. I read A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I read A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. I read these books that were just speaking to my soul in such a deep, deep way. And fuck. I mean, that opened me up when I started to look at and understand myself. I started to be curious about others. That, wow, there's a whole human being under those eyes. There's a whole soul there. There's so much richness that I'm not seeing. I'm interested in these birds. What are these birds up to? Why are there, how are their grass? And so I would just bird just flew. That's epic. So yeah, meditation, understanding myself and reading really just opened me up to an entirely new world, reading and writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, reading was the catalyst for me too. Like it was the catalyst to almost like breaking open the shell of the conditioning and going beneath it and then finding out what do other people think.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were speaking, I was kind of like, there was a thought running through my head of imagine if I could go back to like see 20-year-old Danny in college and just like, you're probably living quite unconsciously at the time and like see you out at the bar and be like, dude, you have no idea what you're going to do in like 8 years from now.
Bro, I feel that way when Michael Norris talks to me today.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, I've had one session with this Vedic astrologer that you introduced me to. His name is Michael Norris. And he basically...
his name is Norse, right? Isn't that's like navigation? It's like, I wonder if he did that on purpose.
That's great. And he says to me, we've had one session and I re-listened to it before, and I want to re-listen to it in the next week or two before our second session. But he said to me, you have no idea what you're going to do in this world. It's so much bigger than you can imagine. And I'm like, bro, I'm trying, what do you mean? So it's interesting having him reflect that back to me even now. In 2020, I guess I got my first reading with him October 2024. And yeah, it's been so much. And at the same time, he says, like, this about yourself at a deep level. So there's this knowing of myself at 20 years old at a bar. I'm meant for big things. I'm meant to shift consciousness. I'm meant to, I wouldn't say it in those words, but I meant there feels like and has felt like a calling on my life. And I've always noticed that even when I was at the bars in college, I would always look both ways when I was drunk. And there was a cautiousness about myself because I felt that, my life is meaningful and my life means something. And I'm supposed to do certain things in this life that I don't understand right now that are going to impact a lot of people. And I felt that so deeply since college. So
Wow. That's such an interesting thing you say. Like, I looked both ways.
Yes, very
Such a subtle thing.
subtle, but it always stuck with me.
Hmm.
Of okay, I know I'm drunk right now, but I know my life is more meaningful than getting drunk at the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I resonate. Like, even being like on the cusp of blackout drunk, there was still a part of me that was like always wanting to be in moral integrity.
Yeah.
Like, I know who I am at my core.
Mm.
This is just what I'm doing now, but like, I know who I am. I
Yeah.
didn't know what that was going to manifest as.
Yes. Yes. So I felt that so deeply. Um, and I felt that because I had reason to believe that as well. Because I'm 13 years old and people are commenting on my blog saying there's no way this is a 13-year-old, right? I'm 15 years old. I'm interviewing NBA players. And I knew what happened if I actually put myself with all my life force into a project. But I also knew I didn't have the consistency or the discipline to follow through on what I actually desired. Um, and so there was this dual thing that was happening. And so there's this recognition of my power at a young age, but also uh, this wanting to run away from it. And yeah, it's interesting because even now it's like okay, that there's more for me, but also I know I'm not fully stepping into what um, I really want and desire in a deep. There's levels to it.
Mm,
So
mm. If you could hypothetically zoom out 5, 10 years from now and look back right now,
yeah,
similar to what you would say to your 20-year-old self in college, what would you say now? What would you say to yourself now?
well, I would say to myself in college, like you were right. That let's say it's 10 years ago, it's like you are right, you are destined for big things, you are destined to connect with your heroes, you are destined to help people in a big way, um, and this is serving you in an important way. This is serving you by grounding you, this is serving you by connecting you to other people, this is serving you by allowing yourself to be friends with others. And also you can quit this at any time. You can exit college. You're allowed. You're not in integrity right now, and you're justifying that, and you're allowed to uh, be in integrity. It's going to require you to make decisions that force greater responsibility that you think you can't handle right now. But I give you full permission to follow your inner voice. And I know
Mm,
that is going to upset your parents in the short term. That is going to upset um, maybe your classmates in some way. But you're not being in integrity right now. You're drinking at the bar every night. You're doing drugs. You're gambling. Right. This is not in integrity. And um, can you, yeah, can you see that this isn't in integrity? And do you have enough strength to decide differently and act in accordance to your own will and what you actually desire from this life? And I know you can, but it will require different levels of responsibility than you think you are capable of right now.
wow. I mean, that speech could go to any person that wants to change their life at any age.
Yeah.
I mean, you've gotten me here introspecting like on everything. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's so real. It's like I didn't drop out of college because I was scared of what my parents would think. And that fear manifests itself in me drinking, me gambling, me smoking, me hooking up with girls. Right. And those things were not in integrity, but I justified it to myself by saying, uh, my parents have given me so much. This is the least I can do for them. If I go to college and follow their will, and I'm going to put their will over my will. And some part of me enjoyed all the drinking and smoking and gambling, and like I enjoyed that from the perspective of um, it was making my ego feel good, but it wasn't actually sole desires of mine. This was other people. When you live in other people's wills, and they're not your own, you get resentful. I got resentful of
Mm,
my parents, and that resentment manifested in doing things that weren't in alignment with me.
mm, mm,
And I didn't have enough trust and faith in the universe to provide what I wanted if I just said, this isn't what I want. And you read the surrender experiment and you realize, oh, the universe is always providing for you. But I didn't have that understanding in that moment. I didn't have that strength in that moment. And I'd have examples in that moment of someone actually dropping out of college and following their will and what that would mean I would have to do. And it's like, I don't want to do all that, and who knows where I would be in this moment if I had the strength to follow my own will, right? Might not be talking to you. And I see the importance of that. So, yeah, man. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. I have a lot of love and compassion for the previous version of myself, and it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But I see a different path looking back with this level of integrity and understanding of myself.
Wow. Well, I think now you have the wisdom and the level of consciousness to see the root of the actions.
Yes.
Whereas then it was like, oh, I'm just going and drinking and doing these things because that's what everybody's doing and it's fun. But now you can look back and say, okay, the root of this is I was not actually living in my own world. I don't think you could have had that thought at 20, but I mean, maybe, but somebody would have had to tell it to you, right? And so
I had the thought, but I didn't have the courage to act on it.
Okay, wow. Wow. So you could see reality at that level.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I think that's very unique.
But it was passing. It was thoughts passing in the night of like, you don't really want to be doing what you're doing right now. And the opposite, the conversation was like, yeah, but look how fun it is.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't understand the ego and living from love and what that meant to live in your desires and what's actually your desire versus what's the desire of someone else, or which desires of yours are coming from the soul versus your ego. That was too muddy.
Yeah. I mean, what would you say to somebody who, they know subtly some of their actions are out of integrity, like, but they haven't found the reason to act on it and change it? Like, what would you say to them to, like, one, help them uncover the root of it?
Yeah.
Because that's where the real change happens, the root. So I guess we could just start there.
Yeah. I would say uncovering the root. How do you uncover the root? That's the question.
Yes.
I believe you uncover the root by asking why. Why do you believe this? Why is this a path that you must take? Why is this a belief that you have? Where did this come from? And being held in a loving presence while somebody asks you why. Because there's a difference in how you're going to react if I say, Jack, why did you do this? Versus I say, hey, Jack, why did you do this? Right? Those are going to, if you just hear the difference in those two, you're going to respond differently. And so I think having a loving presence that is able to meet you with genuine curiosity is one of the first steps to uncovering the root, because you're probably hiding the root from yourself because you're scared of the judgment of a God who doesn't like you, or a parent who doesn't like you. And I think we hide the root from ourselves because we're scared of the judgment. And when we're met with love and realize that, oh, there actually can be no judgment from an all-loving God, all-loving person, then we're free to talk about the root. We're free to explore the root. I mean, how you get to the root is with attention. And it doesn't matter if that attention comes from a meditation session, comes from a loving presence, that attention comes from writing, stream of consciousness, that attention comes from a voice note. You need attention. And you need to put all loving presence towards that attention to understand the root, from my vantage point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I resonate. And having different guides and teachers to hold me in that space has been so, so important. But for somebody out there who doesn't have access to anybody, they're just
Yeah.
listening to this podcast, like, where would you go then?
It's like ChatGPT.
Wow.
I mean, it's a mirror. It's the best mirror that's been created
Dude,
from
you
a
could also like
AI.
program it to be loving and compassionate too.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. That makes me want, a prompt just went viral about like a multi-billionaire, and you showed it with me, and super great prompt. I'm curious to create one around like an all-loving, enlightened force, and like how that changes your behavior or action. So
Yeah,
I'm curious to do that.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say you need the place to start is writing your thoughts down. Like writing unfiltered what is true to you. So many people are scared to even write what is true to them in their journal because it will mean that they will have to make some change in their life that they don't want to even acknowledge to themselves. And they're worried, okay, what if someone reads this journal? Uh, that will mean that I'm this type of person where I have to admit this about myself. And so I think admitting the truth to yourself is step number one. And even if no one, I really believe we heal with each other and we get to a greater level of truth and love with each other. And if it's just you and you, or it feels like just you and you in this moment, I would say that the most important thing you can do is to become more aware and expand your level of consciousness so that you can bring in others to your field. And because I would not be who I am without my friends Elle and Talia and people like you. And it's just like I'm so blessed with friendship and connection in such a deep way where I'm seen and understood, and I couldn't have gotten to the place that I'm at just by meditating by myself. But what happened in Michael Singer's case in the surrender experiment is he just meditated by himself, increased his level of awareness and consciousness, and then people came to him. There was no choice. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, everything is energy, right? Everything is frequency. Everything is magnetic. Everything magnetizes other things. And so it's interesting because you could be in the same city, but operating from a different frequency, and you
Yes,
would not notice the different things happening in your environment.
yes, yes. That's the complete truth. It where you're operating from energetically is going to change a city. It's going to change a football team. It's going to change whatever group you're in, and your energy and your consciousness is impacting your experience of life.
Mm. Now, tell me about this. You are on a college football team, you're in college, you're in a corporate job, whatever it is, right? You're around your old friends at the bar, but you've been listening to these podcasts. These dudes are talking about consciousness and spirituality and love. How do you remain in integrity
Mm.
in that frequency that you are in by yourself, or that you actually read books about and take courses on and listen to podcasts? How do you remain in integrity around those people who are not in that same frequency, and you are scared that they're going to call you weird, they're going to not resonate with you?
Yeah, I would say, okay, so someone calls you weird. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an idea, it's a projection.
Yeah. I think seeing the truth of what someone making fun of you actually means, or someone judging you, or somebody saying, "Oh, we don't do that here," or "What do you mean?" Like we don't talk about love here. We don't talk about truth. We don't say "I love you." We don't connect with each other on that deep way. It's like, okay, what is actually going on at the deepest level? And try to put yourself in those shoes of, okay, well, when I was scared of when I was putting other people down for their beliefs, how was I living? And What did I believe about life? And what did it mean about me if somebody was talking about astrology? Well, I don't want to be, if I were to go back to my internal dialogue, what people talking about astrology meant to me when I was 19 years old was probably, I don't want to be seen as stupid and I don't fully understand this. And because I trust science and I trust people around me, this doesn't resonate with my worldview. And because this doesn't resonate with my worldview, I now want to put someone down because now I don't have to explore it. I could just joke about them. And so if you are able to see that in the moment that that happens to you and see somebody's humanity and see someone's worldview better than they understand themselves, because you're making fun of something because you don't understand yourself and you don't understand the root of it, well, in that moment you have power. And that power allows you to not care or not value that person's perspective of you greater than your own. And so I think it's better understanding the root of the situation as it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's what increased awareness does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's how you exist in that world, while knowing that you don't need to be in that world for the rest of your life. You don't need, like, I understand you're choosing in that moment to be in that corporate job, on that football team. But perhaps open up to the possibility that that's teaching you something that you can't understand in this moment, and that you're serving something greater than yourself. And this experience is there to guide you. I think about Wayne Dyer joining the military. When he's joining the military, he's saying to himself, why am I joining the military? I'm not supposed to be in the military. This goes against my values. What am I doing? And it turns out to be important moments in his life that he is so grateful for. So
something that's coming through for me right now is like, what better way to test and enhance your freedom than by being around those who are not free?
That's a bar.
And so what's coming through for me is like, when you're at the party, when you're in the college class, when you're in the corporate job, the universe, life is going to test your commitment to your level of integrity and your level of freedom.
Yeah.
And it will test you in the form of weird looks, little look from people. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it takes, right? And if you are not solid in that foundation within yourself, you're going to crack in that moment, right? Somebody looks at you like they just give you eyes because you're dancing freely, and they give you eyes. Okay, now you're going to get self-conscious if it's not fully embodied.
Yes.
And so that's the greatest test. And I mean, this is coming through because I have a recent example. So like a month ago, I went to a rave with my friend Tyler. He's a Cancer. He reminds me of you. He's going to be like you in like 7 years. He's 22 right now. So it's going to be a big journey. I'm so excited for him. But so him and I are very free around each other. So we went to the rave independently, sober, and we were just dancing like crazy. And like people would come up to us and start dancing with us like strangers. It was awesome. And we went to another one like 2 weeks ago with 2 other friends from high school. These are like brothers since like 5 years old. And the energy shifted.
Wow.
Because there's like a certain level of freedom that we felt only with each other. But now there were like 2 external mirrors, and they weren't in that same like vibe essentially. And so like there were so many moments where I'd be dancing independently and I'd get like a look, and there's just like a little cringe. There's a little cringe. And it's like, that is the subconscious programming, like literally exiting the body.
Yeah. Yeah. And it represents the little cringe inside of yourself.
Exactly.
That hasn't fully accepted and embraced yourself. And the question is, when you get to the point of not cringing at yourself, those people either join you or leave.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you can sit with yourself and be like, God bless this person. God bless you. I understand that cringe. I felt that myself. And have the courage to talk to them about it, or ask them, or start the conversation. Then you can get to the deeper root and the truth, because they're hiding the deeper root from themselves. And that's why they're cringing.
Dude, every part of myself in my life that I've unlocked deeper levels of authenticity and self-expression has come by first feeling a cringe.
Wow.
The first tweet I ever put out, such a huge cringe. The first podcast, the first video,
Yeah.
the first time I ever danced at a party or sang in the choir, cringe, 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 cringe. But
Wow.
then it's like all the judgments, but then they dissolve. And now it's just like, oh my gosh, this is just pure artistic expression.
Yeah. And what that is the other worlds coming in. So when you're singing, the cringe is, oh, what are my football friends going to say?
Right.
When you're posting that first tweet, it's like, oh, I'm the type of person who judges this, or I'm surrounded by the type of person who judges this. And so I think that's what it's so cool to be self-expressed. It's like you're bridging the worlds.
Mm, that's interesting you bring that up. That's what Talia's aunt Suzette said I'm here to do.
Yes, yes, that makes so much sense. Shout out to Suzette.
She's
Suzette's the
incredible.
greatest. I got to get her on my podcast.
Dude, I have the same thing written down. It's like she's the next person I was gonna ask.
What?
That's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, she's tapped in. She just recorded an amazing podcast with James Zander. Are you familiar with James?
Vaguely, I haven't talked to him yet, but I know of him.
Yeah, I think you guys would really get along. I've been listening to a couple of his podcasts. His questions are so dialed, and he recorded a great one with Mickey Morris, as well as I listened to the one with Suzette. Huge, awesome work, and I highly recommend people check out that podcast as well as Suzette's work. I want to have Suzette on my podcast. I want to listen to you talk to Suzette. So
Yeah, I wanna do another reading with her.
yes,
Oh, it was so good.
yes.
That's cool. Is there anything else that's on your mind and heart?
No, man, I'm just excited for life. I'm grateful for this opportunity, this time capsule that we've put into the ether.
Interesting way to describe a podcast. I love it.
I'm grateful for just to be able to express in the ways that we do, to go into our curiosities and interests and be so free and open with them. You know, astrology was not something I would ever expect I'd be talking about 3 years from now, 3 years ago rather. And it might not be something I care about or talk about 3 years from now. And I love that I can own my perception right now, because when we do that, there's such a freedom in owning your perception. And I just want to close the podcast by just encouraging people to own their perception right now. And your perception right now doesn't mean you need to live in that same mindset forever, but you do need to own it right now in order to progress.
Mm. And you can choose your perception at any moment.
Mm,
You can shift it at any moment.
mm,
You're on a walk and life feels
mm,
dull and heavy and all these things. In that moment, catch the thought, shift into, oh my gosh, it's a beautiful day outside. Just start to marvel at like the architecture or the bird flying. That perception shift changes everything.
yeah.
And then noticing when the perception starts to cascade into negative thoughts and emotions,
Yeah.
bring it back up, bring it back up. That is what I think is the Holy Spirit, actually.
Mm,
And that's so funny how this comes full circle. We hadn't talked about this. I've probably told you this before. I look at you as somebody that embodies what I perceive as the Holy Spirit, like the
wow.
commitment to vertical integrity,
Wow.
basically.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's such high praise, man. Thank you.
Thank you. You inspire me and you inspire people without even you knowing it. Like my friend Tyler, who is a Cancer, and he can see the world like you can.
Mm,
He talks about like, because he's in a corporate job and stuff, and
yeah.
he's 22, and he's sometimes like, I can see emotions or I can see things that aren't in integrity, but like I don't say it. And then he just brings up you out of nowhere. He's like, that's something like Danny. He just does it. He just
Mm,
brings it up.
yeah.
And so, I mean, bro, you're inspiring people across the country, like without even having to say anything. So we're grateful for you up here in Chicago.
I love that. I'm so grateful for Tyler and so grateful. I've never spoke to Tyler, And
You've been
I
talking to him a lot on Twitter recently. I've noticed this. He's the red guy who's Wiz.
got it. Got
Yeah.
it. Well, I've never had a conversation in an actual in virtual or in-person conversation with him. Um, and to think that he's noticing how I'm picking up on emotions and calling them out is a fascinating thing and something that I would never even consider. So I'm honored that people are paying attention. I'm honored that I could use it. I could use myself as a guidepost for others in how to live their lives and more authentically, more truly. And yeah, man, I'm just witnessing the journey at this point, witnessing the beautiful journey, and I'm super grateful for it all.
I'm grateful for you, man. You have changed my life. Big way.
I appreciate that. And it's only been a year since we started the coaching, a year ago.
Wild.
Wild, right? Because it's been
Wild. New reality.
new reality.
100% new reality.
It's crazy, in all the best ways. And it just goes to show you were committed for 1 month and just you got a new reality so quickly. And I think I really wish I knew that and had this podcast to listen to in 2015. Like, okay, you can be in integrity. You can live with more love. You can have a new reality 1 year from now that could be so different than what you currently have, but it requires you to look and live in the truth. And you know what is right from your perception right now. And it matters. It really does.
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be the name of this podcast. Living in the truth. Plus astrology. Like that.
That's great. Yeah.
This was fun, man.
First podcast I've done going into my chart.
Yeah, me too. It's so
Really?
fun.
First one you've done going into your chart?
Yeah, it hasn't come up.
What?
I mean, a little thing has come up here and there. I'll make
Got
a
it.
comment. I'll be like, oh, yeah, it's because you're a Sagittarius. And then that's about it, though.
Wow. Not like a deep, in-depth breakdown.
No, but now you have me interested to maybe interview some other astrologists.
Yeah. I think that would be awesome. I would love that. Please talk to Patricia's son.
That just came through for me right now, too.
Yep. She was on Rick Rubin's podcast. Really sweet woman. Yeah, I would love Michael Norris on this podcast.
He's been on the list, too.
Excellent. Suzette Chandler, James Zander, if you spoke to, would be amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Now I've got some people in the chamber.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Incredible. I love you so much, man. Thank you for this great conversation. You're doing amazing things. Super inspiring. You're inspiring me every day as well. Just with how you're choosing to live your life. I think about me going back to New York. It's like, I'm so good on that. I'm so good on that.
Yeah.
And do you know Tim Doyle?
No.
Tim is a great friend. He went to the third retreat and he just moved down here a month ago. And he says, dude, we just would never have the conversation that we had last night. We would never have that where I'm from in the Northeast. And I saw it from his perspective. And it was just he was so right. But I never even think about it because it's so my reality to talk about the truth, to understand ourselves, to say the thing that is difficult to say, to live in the emotion. And so just to hear his reflection was so beautiful. So you're inspiring me by virtue of you going into that reality and living in the truth. God bless you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And, it's like I had to go to Austin to see the truth. And then now it's my work to live in it here.
Yeah, that's well said. It's well said.
But I love you, bro. I'm really grateful for this. This was so fun.
Yeah.